Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba. It's time for Bible school. Let's call it Doodle Bible School because it's time for doodling and Bibling, and Doodle Bible School is what we're doing today. I know it didn't rhyme, but you got to understand, it just came straight out of my head, and so I didn't have time to put it together as a rhymer. Doodle Bible School. Thank you for being here. That's where we take Vacation Bible School and turn it into Doodle Bible School, and that way you can do it all year long. You know what I'm saying? And doodling. I mean, who doesn't like to doodle? I'll tell you, go to a restaurant with your parents while they're talking about something boring, and all you got to do is sit there and look at the food. I'll bet you'll start doodling, especially if there's a napkin and there's a pen laying on the table. You'll start doodling, because doodling's what we do. Doodle Bible School. I hope that you're enjoying this study of numbers. I am. Not numbers as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but numbers as in the book of Numbers, where we're wandering through the wilderness. Here's my buddy Moses as he comes dancing onto the screen. I like how he hops. Anyhow, he says, on my way or on our way to the promised land. I guess it's our way because he's got a whole bunch of folks with him. You know, they say there could have been as many as like 3 million of them wandering around the wilderness. That's a whole bunch of folks. And it kind of tells you why in our story today with Balaam, why Balak, the king, was so kind of intimidated by them. And there's a lot of folks coming through here. Anyhow, we'll talk about that in a moment. Getting ahead of myself. Got to slow down, Sonny. All right, navigating numbers with my man Moses. Now, I think we all know how this works, but just in case you haven't been paying attention, we have 5 segments. The first segment is when we do the doodling. It's called Doodle Bible School, so you really ought to do some doodling when you're doodling Bible schooling. That didn't make sense, but anyhow, Doodle Bible School. All right, here's my doodle-a-dee. Where's my doodle-later? Here it is. I found it over here. My doodle-later is right here. Now, I got to tell you something, folks. This doodle is going to be a lot like the doodle we had last time. In fact, I asked Gabriel to make sure that the doodle was almost the same because, well, you're going to see that in chapters 23 and 24, we basically are covering the same material. It's just kind of an extension. So look at your picture in 23. Remember 23? Well, notice 24. We're going to change his crown up just a little bit in order to make sure he's got a 4 on his head. But anyhow, let's see if I can do this. I have trouble drawing. Oh man, I'm on the wrong side here. How do I gotta come over here. And see, I can't see very well. All right. Did that work? Well, sort of. It's not too good. But anyhow, here's your 2, right? All right, there's your 2. All right. Oh, we don't need that part to be dark. Sunny, goofy, sunny. There it is. That's the 2. Now, let's see. Do we do it okay? Yeah, it's okay. It's not quite as good as Gabriel's, but is it ever? All right, you put an exclamation point inside the bubble, all right? Now, come over here. We're just going to draw this king, all right? And he's not a happy king, so we give him some eyes here, squinty eyebrows, and a frowny face. Well, Sonny, get the thing over there where the people can see it. Okay, there it is. You got it. Now, here's the tough part. We got to give this guy a crown, all right? And what Gabriel did here is he gave him kind of a squared off crown here. Now this is where it's going to get challenging. Okay, we come over here, come up here, come over here, and down here. I think I did it. Did it? Yeah, that's not bad. Can you see the 4? Here's the 4. I'm trying to hold this thing up with my chin. Do we get it? Yeah, that's not half bad, actually. I mean, it's a little goofy, but that's part of the process, getting it into your head. So there you go. All right, I'll set this over here so you can admire my fine work. Oh, we got to get that water bottle out of the way because you can't really admire what I did there. Because I know you're anxious to do that. All right, there's 24. Now, in 24, boy, his crown's a little big there. He had a big head. He actually did, if you read the story. But anyhow, in 24, we're going to have the same theme as in 23, Balaam's blessings. Now, just to kind of give you a heads up, what's going to happen here is that Balak, the king, has kind of rented Balaam and said, hey, come over here, curse these people that are coming through, because there's a whole bunch of them. They happen to be God's people. Balaam says, I can't do anything but what the God tells me to say, and so he says blessings when Balak wanted him to curse him. Anyhow, it's kind of a funny story, old Balak. He didn't have a brain in his head, I don't think. But anyhow, Balaam is going to be the main guy in our story, because he's the man of God. He's the one who's supposed to be doing the right stuff here, okay? And he can't curse God's people because God won't let him. So, in chapter 23, Balaam's blessings. Chapter 24, Balaam's blessings. See how helpful that is? I know, you're saying, Sonny, thank you. Well, it's okay. Just write me a nice letter and send it in. No, you don't have to do that, really. Okay, so there you go, guys. So as we started this semester, we're over there in 21. Anybody remember what 21 is? The brass serpent. Remember they're all getting bit by snakes? Well, in 23, that's where we pick up Balaam. And Balaam is pretty much in the story 23, 24, and 22, 23, and 24. So 22 over there is the donkey. I think I said that wrong. 22 is the donkey, the talking donkey. 23, Balaam's blessings. 24, Balaam's blessings. So there you go. I think in 25 we move on to other people. All right. So here we go. What is the theme of Numbers 24? And can you doodle it? There it is. I mean, if you can't, look at there. It's right there in front of you. Go ahead and doodle just like I doodled it. Oh, I love water. All right, you get that? That's segment number 1. Here's my big-eyed buddy. What do you call a crab who plays baseball? I'm thinking of Mr. Crab, owner of the Krusty Krab, out there trying to play baseball. But it doesn't matter which crab you're thinking of. Maybe you're thinking of the crab you ate last night when you went to, what's that seafood place called? Red Lobster. Yeah, I didn't. I think I ate there once in my life, and I didn't really care for it that much. But that doesn't matter. It's not even part of the joke here. What do you call a crab who plays baseball? That's the question we have for you today. What do you call a crab who plays baseball? You call him a pinch hitter. Because of the pinchers that a crab has. Did you get it? I didn't even need to explain that one to you, did I? Because that's such a sharp joke. That is such a good one, isn't it? Not really, but it's the best I had at the moment, and so we went with it. So a crab who plays baseball is a pinch hitter. All right, that being said, we go into segment number 2. And this is where we make a memory. We get all brainy and we try to work out our brain so that our brain doesn't get all mushy up there, you know? Does your brain ever get mushy? The other day my brain was so foggy I couldn't hardly remember diddly. But anyhow, that doesn't have to do anything right now. What I'm talking to you about right now is Numbers chapter 24. We need to make a memory. And so as we turn to Numbers chapter 24, I give you this particular memory verse. And my man Moses, he says, look, here's all you got to do. Say each line 5 times. And Balak's anger, and Balak's anger, and Balak's anger, and Balak's anger, and Balak's anger. Remember, Balak is the mad king over here. He doesn't like Balaam for doing what he's doing. And Balak's anger was kindled against Balaam, so he's mad at Balaam. And he struck his hands together. And Balak said to Balaam, I called you to curse my enemies, and behold, you've blessed them these 3 times. I asked you to come over here and put a curse on them, and you did just the opposite. You put a blessing on them. So Balak, he's not happy. And you can see it in the picture there. He's just not happy with my man Balaam. But anyhow, we got old Balaam here, and Balaam, he's going to have to go home. Because, in fact, we're going to see here later in the script, in the passage, it's actually going to say, Balak's going to say to Balaam, you need to flee, because I'm mad at you, buddy. Anyhow, I probably shouldn't be laughing at that, but I did already, so I don't think I can take it back. All right, now, we're going to say, if you cannot figure it out and get it in your brain by saying all those lines 5 times, what you can do is leave blanks. And then you go through here, and you try to figure out what is the word that goes in each one of these blanks. And Balak's I think anger, wasn't it? Yeah, and Balak's anger was kindled against Balaam. I think I got the first two lines there. Yeah, I think that's right. But anyhow, there you go. And so you put that all over the house. Don't draw on the walls because moms don't like that. But you put it on sticky notes and put it all over the bathroom mirror, and everywhere. And then every time you see it, you have to fill in the blanks. And by the time you pretty much get it in your brain. You see what I'm saying? It's such a neat way to memorize. Okay, so in segment number 2, we're going to have 2 questions in segment number 2, and those 2 questions are going to be these. What did Balak strike together in anger? That was your hint. And can you quote the memory verse? No, I cannot. It was kind of a long one, so it's going to take a little while for us to get that one in our heads. But it's a pretty good memory verse, and I think you'll be able to do it. Remember, say the lines 5 times or leave blanks. Okay, let's go to another silly. Here's my man with the lollipop. I don't know what that's supposed to be. If that's just like a Mr. Blob or what that is. But anyhow, the man with the lollipop and the funny hat says, what kind of bird works at a construction site? A bird that works at a construction site. I've seen a lot of pigeons that kind of pooped all over the construction site, but I don't think that's the answer because that's not even funny. What kind of bird works at a construction site? A pigeon. No, I am not laughing at that, so it can't be the answer. What kind of bird works at a construction site? Well, of course, it's a crane. A crane. A crane that lifts things up, or a crane. It's a bird standing on one leg. Why do they do that? Have you ever seen a crane? I've seen a lot of cranes. And those cranes, they're standing out there in the middle. I live in the middle of rice country. I think Arkansas is like the number 1 rice producer of the world. And so we got a lot of rice, which means we got a lot of little critters in the rice paddies and all that kind of thing. And you see cranes all the time, and they're out there, but they're standing on one leg. How long can you stand on one leg? I can't stand very long. I have trouble standing on 2 legs. Anyhow, that's your joke for the day. Segment number 3. As we move into pondering the passage, we see my buddy, he's still sitting there by the pond, doesn't seem to be catching much because he's always right there. And he's saying, I wonder. And what he's humming about is this particular passage. So let's talk about it in its context just for a moment or two. And Balak's anger was kindled against Balaam, and he struck his hands together. And Balak said to Balaam, I called you to curse my enemies, and behold, you have blessed them these 3 times. So how many times does Balaam actually bless the people of God when he's been asked to curse them? 3. Therefore, now flee to your own place. I told you that's going to happen. He said, listen, I'm tired of you, buddy. I got you over here and I expected you to do a job and you didn't do it, so you better run. So what does Balak say to Balaam? Flee. You need to get out of here. And to your own place. I said, I will certainly honor you, but the Lord has held you back from honor. And so who does Balak blame for Balaam not getting the honor? God. He says, God won't let you say what I want him to say, and therefore you're not getting, because remember, he promised Balaam all that kind of stuff, remember? But he said, you're not getting any honor from me because your God will not allow you to curse his people, which is kind of nonsensical if you think about it. Why would a king think that he could ask the man of God to curse God's people? Why would God do that? I don't know. Anyhow, verse 12. And Balaam said to Balak, did I not tell your messengers whom you sent to me, if Balak should give me a house full of silver and gold, I'd not be able to go beyond the words of the Lord? So what was it that Balak promised Balaam? No, that's not true. What was it that Balaam said, even if Balak gave me all of this? That's the way it is, because I don't know that he ever necessarily promised all that. But he said, even if he were to give me a house full of silver and gold, he said, I wouldn't do it. Okay, verse 14. And now behold, I am going to my people. So Balaam says, all right, I'm going home. But before he did that, there's one last thing he does for Balak. And he says, come, I will let you know what this people will do to your people in the latter days. So Balaam says to Balak, he says, I've come a long way over here, and I know you're disappointed in me in that, but I'm going to do you one last thing. He said, I'm going to tell you what God says is going to happen to you folks because of this people that I'm not allowed to curse. And so he presents a prophecy here. And it's the one last gesture that he has to Balak the king as to, okay, here's what God says. And it's not a good thing for Balak. Oh, dude. You'd have thought in all this time Balak would have just said, you know what, I think I'll make your God my God. That would have been a good thing, but Balak didn't do it. He did. I told you he wasn't real smart. I mean, look at him. He doesn't even look smart. All right, moving on. Here are your 5 questions that we have for segment number 3. How many times did Balaam bless Balak's enemies? What did Balak tell Balaam to do since he was upset with him? Who did Balak say took away Balaam's honor? Balaam said he would go against God's message. He would not go against message, even if Balak gave him what? Silver and gold. What did Balaam do to Balak before leaving? He told him what was going to happen in the days to come. Let's be silly. Twirly head. Why was the owl always invited to parties? Every time I see an owl, he's sleeping. Or at least it seems like he's sleeping. I don't know why you'd want an owl at your party if he's sleeping all the time. But anyhow, why was the owl invited to the parties? I'll tell you why. Because he was a real hoot at parties. Get it? Owl's hoot, and he was a real hoot. Yeah, wasn't that funny? I didn't think so either. All right. Segment number 4. That's cuatro if you're speaking Spanish. Apply the why. This is where we go back to that same passage and we draw out one little area that you really relate to. And I was thinking, I really relate to this idea. The Lord has held you back from honor. My question I need you to write me a short paragraph about is, has God ever kept you from getting something that really wouldn't be good for you? I have on several occasions in my life, I have prayed for God to help me get this or get that, only to find out later that if I had gotten that, it would not have been good for me. Did you ever pray for just a mountain of candy? It wouldn't be good. Your teeth would fall out, you'd get big, and you'd have a bellyache, and it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good. But that's my question, because that's kind of what happens here. All right, the Lord, according to Balak, it's the Lord's fault that you're not going to get honored. And according to the Lord, Balaam's not supposed to get honored in that way because he wasn't supposed to do that job. He wasn't supposed to curse my people. Has God ever kept you from getting something? Here, I'll just put it up here this way. Come on, segment 4. Has God ever kept you from getting something that wouldn't be good for you? Obviously, you can give me a yes or no, and that would be a really short paragraph. Or you could give me a yes or no and then tell me what it is that he kept from you. That's what I really would like. All right, here's a goofy. Big tooth dude. All right. What's a frog's favorite drink? Pond water. I mean, come on. That's not hard. What's a frog's favorite drink? Coca-Cola. Frog. You ever hear a frog at night go, frog? Coca-Cola. That's clearly what a frog would drink as a favorite drink. Coca-Cola. I know. All right, guys, we got to move along here. This is segment number 5. This is where we begin to test. And it's where our buddy Frank says, oh dear. Because Frankie's never ready for the test. But anyhow, test number 20. Here are the questions that you have. I don't think my head's even in the way this time. So there you go. Frank, are you in the way? Boy, he is. Frank, you got your eyeballs in the way. That says 2413, by the way, if you can't read it. I can't believe it did that. Oh, Frank, you need to duck your head there, buddy. Anyhow, these are the 10 questions that you'll have in your final test. Be there. Matthew 16:26.